Hello and welcome to episode number 10 of our Quality Quick Tip series. My name is Jeff Watson and I am a program coordinator with the Research Planning and Evaluation Division of the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. As always, after you watch the video, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please contact us at dhhs.cqi@nebraska.gov. The Division of Child and Family Services is committed to protecting the essential tribal relations and best interests of an Indian child by promoting practices consistent with the state and federal Indian Child Welfare Act. These new changes on NFOCUS will allow us to document compliance with the Indian Child Welfare Act guidelines, as well as allow us to track active efforts provided to Indian children and their families. Finally, documenting and tracking our efforts for Indian children will help us improve our CFSR outcomes across the state. Next, we will talk about the recent NFOCUS release and the new functionality built into NFOCUS. First, the ability to send a notice to tribes for court cases and a notice to tribes for non-court and alternative response cases was added to NFOCUS. This addition allows us to keep a running history of tribes that have been notified in regards to Indian children, and also any responses received from the tribe. The new functionality also allows you to keep track of motions in court hearings when a tribe requests to intervene or transfer jurisdiction. The ability to add qualified expert witnesses is also available as part of the NFOCUS release, so you can document who testifies in the child's best interests. And finally, an active efforts letter is now available on NFOCUS, so you can document your active efforts for the Indian child and submit a letter to the court at each court hearing as required by state law. In this video, we will be taking a look at the tribal push button on NFOCUS and where it can be located. We will also go through a demonstration of documenting in the tribal area on NFOCUS and how to update various information about each child in the program case. We will also demonstrate how to send a tribal notice for court or non-court case, and finally show where the active efforts letter is located. Alright, so first we're going to start by taking a look at where the tribal push button is located on NFOCUS. So we're going to jump into our Green Family Master Case. Now once we get in the master case, there's a couple ways to find the tribal push button. The first thing you can do is we're going to select Joey Green. You can go into the program person information, and the tribal button is located right here under the YRTC narrative. You can also get to it by looking at the person details screen. So if we go back to our detailed program case for Joey Green, we can click on the person details screen, and under school attendance there's the tribal push button. Both take you to the same place. There's just two ways to get to it. So we're going to go into Joey Green, and we're going to take a look at the tribal window. This is the detailed tribal information window where most of the information you're going to be entering will go into. The first thing to note is the very first question: is this child covered under the Indian Child Welfare Act? For the purposes of this demonstration, we are going to say that Joey Green is covered under ICWA, but you can also make the determination no. It's important to remember that when you do make the determination yes or no, you do want to come back to your multi-person narratives, your kinship search window, and make sure you're documenting under Indian Child Welfare Act. Document if the child is or is not covered under ICWA. Include the steps that were taken to make this determination. So it's still very important to determine where you got this information from and really explain it here. This helps us meet CFSR requirements and other things for NFOCUS. So when we go back to our tribal information window, we're going to say that Joey Green is covered under ICWA. We're going to say that a determination date was made, let's just say earlier this year, and we'll save. And now we have the determination date saved in there. We know that Joey Green is covered under the Indian Child Welfare Act. Let's say we want to add some tribal information about him. Which tribe is he enrolled in, or which tribes have we sent notice to? So we're going to click the Add Tribe button over here. In this window, it's just a list of all the tribes throughout the United States, all the places that you could look for a tribe. For Joey, we're just going to look, and we're going to narrow it down to the Sioux tribes. So you just type in whatever you'd like. You narrow it down by Sioux. If you want to narrow it down even more, just continue here. We'll just type in Santee, and then I'll narrow it down to the two Santee tribes here of South Dakota and one in Nebraska. So to select those tribes, we'll click them both. We'll blue arrow back, and it brings us down in here into the tribe name information. So when you have them down here under tribe name, you can add some more information for each tribe. For Joey Green, if you have enrollment numbers, the status date. So we're going to go with the Santee Sioux Nation of Nebraska. We don't have an enrollment number for Joey, but we'll say that he is eligible for membership. Let's see, we found the status date. At the same time, we determined he was ICWA eligible, and we don't have any documentation received yet. So when you have that information, you click Update, and it clicks it all down in here for you so you can see it all. If you ever want to edit that or change anything, you can always just click Update again, change whatever you need to in here and click Update, and it'll update it down here in the box. And if you ever want to delete a tribe from this window, you can go ahead and do that with the Delete button right here. Now that we have our detailed tribal information window entered and updated with the tribes, we're going to go through how to create a notice to the tribes to see if Joey is eligible for membership in each tribe. We're going to go into the tribal info push button right here. And in this, you're going to see that it did pull over the tribe names of the ones we selected on the previous screen. Joey Green is currently involved in a court case, so we're going to go ahead and select the court that he's involved in. He's in the Lancaster County court system. There it is, and that's in Lancaster County. There we go. It pulls in his birth date for us. We're also just going to say that he is born in Lincoln, Nebraska. If he's not born in the United States, you can pick the country down here. The next thing we want to go through is click the checklist. This tells us what other information that we're going to be sending with our notice to the tribes. We can include a copy of the petition, a copy of the affidavit for removal, a copy of motion for temporary custody, a copy of the order for immediate custody. If any of those are applicable, we'll definitely want to include them in our notice to the tribes. Any other attachments that you possibly have that you'd want to send, or additional information for the tribe. Any of that stuff we'd like to send with our tribal notice. In this case, we're not going to have anything else for Joey. What we'll really want to fill out and focus on is the ancestry information for the tribes. This will pull in from the family relationships window. If you've already entered things into the family relationships window in order to send out relative notices, they will pull in here, then we can just add people that way. Or if you want to create new people this to indicate the ancestry, we're going to go ahead and do a demonstration of that. We'll click Add. Oh, I have to save first. In this window, this is where we go through and describe the the ancestry information. So for Joey, we're going to say that he has a paternal grandpa who we think is a tribal member. We'll go ahead and black arrow out to try to find him. Oops. So we have to add the sex code. Male. Okay, so we added John Smith there. We have his information. If you know any of this other information, it's very important to fill it out. Any of his birth dates, any other identifying information for him, his previous enrollment. If we just think and all we have is his name, that's okay too. If all you have is a last name and maybe his sex, if if it's a grandma or grandpa, so you have Grandma Smith is all you have, go ahead and enter that information. It's better than nothing to send to the tribes. So we'll have John Smith as our grandparent paternal. We want to save and close that. And it'll come down here as our relative name for the relative of Joey Green. So the final thing we want to do is select the tribes that we want to send our tribal notices to. In this case, we're going to send our notice to both of them. So we'll click both of them, go up to Action, Create Court Notice. Oh, petition date. We will add this in here. Since it is a court case, we do have to have a petition, which is why it's asking us to do this. We'll say that's our court case. All right. Save the changes, Action, Create Court Notice, and then it'll create the court notices for us. This will print out a letter for each tribe that you're going to send these court notices to. And again, this is just to inform the tribe that Joey Green is involved in a court case here in Lancaster County. It's allowing them information to see if they do want to intervene in the case. And we'll get through how to track those steps in the next step. Alright, now we're back on the detailed tribal information window. We want to take some time and talk about the intervene and transfer push button, as well as the qualified expert witness push button. When you do hear back from a tribe and they have decided to intervene in a case, you want to go ahead and click on this push button. We're going to say that the tribe did move to intervene with the motion. We're going to say the date of the motion was 12/15/2015. And we're going to go ahead and click Add to show that the Santee Sioux tribe did request to intervene in this case. If there is a hearing held, you want to go ahead and click on that. Type in the date of the hearing was held. We'll say it was a week later. So 12/22/2015. And the decision was our court decided to grant the motion and intervene. So we'll update all that information. At this point, you'll want to save it. And make sure that we're saving in that the court decided to grant the motion to intervene. If the Santee Sioux tribe does request a transfer hearing and we want to transfer the case over to tribal court custody, we'll type in the date of the transfer hearing. We'll say it's a few days later for this demonstration. And case transfer to the tribe, yes it was. If the case wasn't transferred to the tribe, you have to come down here and select the reason for the case not being documented. But for our purposes of our demonstration, we'll say that the case was transferred to the tribe. So we'll click Add, and that'll be saved down there for us. Go ahead and save that. We can close this window. If in any of those court hearings there was a qualified expert witness who we wanted to track that testified on behalf of the youth, we'll come over here and click the qualified expert witness push button. This does require us to go find that professional or add them to NFOCUS. In this case, we're going to say it's for Joey Green. We're going to go find our professional. Let's see if we can just find someone to add here. See if there's any Smiths. Yep, we'll say Carly Smith is going to be our qualified expert witness. That's the professional relationship we created. If you already have the professional relationship created, go ahead and select that. Most of the time you'll have to pick qualified expert witness for here. And you can save and close. We'll go ahead and pick this relationship, and it'll kick us back to our qualified expert witness window. The reason for the testimony in this case was due to, let's say, a placement change, and the date of the testimony was at that transfer hearing. So go ahead and add all that information down here to the bottom, and it'll save it in there for us, and we'll save and close on the way out. Finally, the last thing we want to touch on is the active efforts letter that is required at every court hearing involving an ICWA child. The requirement is that the CFS specialist will provide a written report of their attempts to provide or provision of active efforts based on ICWA guidelines. This letter and report will also need to be sent to the Indian child's tribes or tribe within 3 days after being filed with the court, regardless of their decision of the tribe to intervene or not. So to go to find this active efforts letter, we were in this tribal information window. It's actually under the program person information window, and it's under the court report narratives. So if we go into court report person, we'll go ahead and click new in this case. For Joey Green, we're still under Joey Green, and it's right here. You'd select active efforts. So the heading for this one says efforts to preserve or reunify the family by actively engaging, assisting, and monitoring access to culturally appropriate and other resources and supports. So this letter that you document needs to be presented to the judge in court at every court hearing, even if a court report is not required at that hearing. So adjudication, it'd be important to do those kinds of things is where you do an active efforts letter. In this video, we quickly went through the new tribal functionality on NFOCUS. We had a demonstration on adding tribes and sending a tribal notice for a court case. We also demonstrated how to track when a tribe intervenes in a case and how to track the hearings regarding that intervention and potential transfer. We quickly touched on how to add a qualified expert witness, and we finally talked about the active efforts letter in NFOCUS and its requirements. In a future NFOCUS update, a cultural plan icon will be added to the detailed tribal information window. The cultural plan is used to help ensure Indian children placed in out-of-home care can maintain contact with their culture and tribe. We hope this overview of the new tribal functionality has been a helpful tool to introduce this new feature on NFOCUS. Please remember to review the ICWA Operations Manual for additional information regarding the Indian Child Welfare Act requirements. The ICWA Operations Manual and step-by-step instructions for all the NFOCUS procedures we demonstrated today will be attached to this quick tip. Thank you again for watching episode number 10 of our Quality Quick Tip series. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please contact us at dhhs.cqi@nebraska.gov.